So I think we should start now. Students can join in between. So good evening, everyone. Myself, Ashika Shrivastava, Chapter Coordinator of Punjabi Chamber of Commerce. Uh, Today, we all are here for our sixth GY session, that is Lean Canvas. Today, we have Mr. Abhay Narula for our sixth session. He's a co-founder and CEO at Say to Shop. He has 8+ years of experience in sales, B2B, strategic alliance, and partnerships. He worked with Medpay, Flipkart, Maruti Suzuki, Walmart, and Accenture on senior level positions where he has demonstrated his expertise in growth strategy, P&L management, channel sales management, new market development, and GTM strategy. He has also received multiple awards and recognitions for his excellence and performance. He's a bronze medalist in MBA from IIM Ranchi and BTech from NIT Jalandhar. On behalf of entire PCC, I welcome you, sir, as a mentor for today's GY session, that is Lean Canvas. Now over to you, sir.
Thanks, Ishika. Thanks for having me here. And I welcome each and every participant. So I think let us directly jump. So today I'll be covering a bit about myself. Then I think we can move to Lean Canvas. What are the main components? What are the key examples we'll be taking from the real life? And I think we can do one hands-on as well. Then how to effectively actually use this. And in the conclusion, we'll be concluding why this is required actually. So let me begin by introducing myself. I think Ishika did a fabulous job over there. So I come with 8.5 years of experience. Currently, I'm the co-founder and CEO of Say to Shop. It is an e-commerce company which is enabling the e-commerce for whole of the Bharat. The problem statement which we sought after was in Bharat, in India, we have 145 crore plus folks. But when you talk about e-commerce, merely 16 crore people are using that e-commerce facility available. And if I talk about e-commerce, which one person uses in a month, that is mere 1 to 1.5 crore. So this whole gap, why is this particular gap, and can we bridge this particular gap using the technology is what we are working on. Before this, I was leading Medpay. Medpay is an early stage healthcare startup. So I was the vice president and head of business and growth for them. And before that, I was with Walmart India and Flipkart. I'm the youngest national sales head across Walmart Global. I worked with Maruti Suzuki for around 4 years and Accenture with around 2 years. In terms of my educational background, I am an MBA bronze medalist with dual specialization of strategy and marketing from IIM Ranchi and BTech from NIT Jalandhar. Now coming to the lean canvas, the first question which comes to the whole of the mind is, we already have so many approaches, frameworks available with us, then why particularly lean canvas? The difference here we need to understand is that there are so many frameworks which we normally use to present it to the outside world. Lean canvas is something which we have to present to ourselves as the founders, as the people who are working inside the company. Lean canvas is very, very simple. It is just a one-page document. If you compare, if you have to give a deck to the investor, it will be at least 15-page deck, which will be covering each and everything. And do you know how much time an investor takes to read your deck? It is hardly 30 seconds. So it doesn't make sense if even you fill the whole 15-page deck with a load of data. Hence, the whole lean canvas thing came around. Lean canvas was brought up from the business model canvas, which was normally used by large companies to ensure they are going into the right structure, they have the right value they are offering to the customer. Now, when you talk about lean is basically for the startups because startups are meant to be lean, they are meant to be focused. That's why they are startups. They have limited resources. Hence, they need to work on the limited resources and get the desired results out of it. Now, coming to why this particular one-pager format is required, it is majorly to understand that the whole structure we have in our mind is available on the paper as well as clearly available for each and every one. The problem with max of the solutions, max of the startups we see is we think that our solution is eligible for each and every users. Taking example of what we are building an e-commerce solution just like say Flipkart or Amazon, but more towards voice and vernacular way. If I start saying that it's available for 145 crore people, I'll never be able to take it off. Going forward, all the 145 crore people might be using it. But when you're at a startup stage, you need to identify your who is the first target customer. We call it as the ICP, ideal customer profile. So those are the kind of things this particular canvas enables us to bring to the actual picture. Before moving forward, let me show you how a lean canvas looks like. So lean canvas enables you to focus on both the aspects. The first aspect is of the product. What is the problem you are trying to solve? Is there any existing solution that to that particular problem? Then it talks about the solutions. What solution? What are the top three features of your solution? We will make the solution for end of the things. We'll have n number of features. But what are the exactly features which the customer requires here? Then what are the key matrices which you and me or whoever is the person who's running the startup is going to measure on? And believe me, selecting a key matrix is very, very important. Unique value proposition, what is the unique value we bring to the end user? High level concept, what is the high level concept in terms of what's the value overall if you see? Unfair advantage is a typical thing we use in the startups. These unfair, we'll covering in detail also. What is the unfair advantage of your particular startup or what you have for this particular startup? What are the channels to which we will reach to the customer? What are the customer segments we want to reach? Is it a tier one? Let's say, is it a tier one people who are, say, working from 9 to 5? Or is it, say, tier one people who are sitting at home? So, how you define that particular segment? Who are the early adopters for you? How is the cost structure which will look like? And what are the revenue streams? Once you have this kind of a pager, and you will get the clarity what exactly you should present to the end person who is your customer, or if you talk about the investment side. Now coming to what are the key components. So the first component is the problem itself. Now, problem identification is a big task. The problem statement is way bigger task. We will be able to do the problem identification quite easily because the founder mindset is like that. You will by default talk to say 100 or 200 customers at least. You'll be able to articulate what exactly the problems are. But to put that in a particular format, which is say less than 30 words, is what is required here. And this should cover the whole of the pain points which your customer has. And also ensuring this is a large enough market. Now, suppose for me, say the example I see is problem is say, I know a lady who is not able to use mobile properly. Can I make something for that particular lady only? What will this do is I'll be able to give a solution, but targeting towards that lady thing, what she is going to do reduces my market size to one. If I even extrapolate, it will be very, very limited. So these are the things you need to address within the problem statement itself. Next thing comes as a solution. So solution in our mind, once you are at a startup stage, you will be thinking a lot of things as a solution. And the major problem with the solution statement is we use a lot of jargons. It is going to change the world. It's the inner thing of the world. All these things means there's a lack of clarity actually. If you talk to the VCs or even to yourself or to your team. So the solution statement articulation is required. Hence, this particular framework talks about how you can focus on the solution keyword. And here it means that you have to clearly communicate to that. The benefit of using the whole of this thing is even if tomorrow you're going to hire a new team member, they should also have the DNA of the same startup. Hence, this enables them to do it. How the whole solution for our will work and what exactly is the gap it will be going to fulfill in terms of our target audience should be answered by this particular statement. The problem comes again, this statement has to be less than 30 words to fit into that particular framework. Hence enables you to think around it and put into very, very easy words. Coming to the unique value proposition. So, the problem with the unique value proposition itself is it's very, very hard to find. Today, the feature may be a unique value proposition. A unique value proposition may be discount or something else. But how unique it is for you and for your customer is something you need to identify. And how you will be able to identify this is very simple. You need to talk to your customer, understand whether they require this or not, or even it is a valuable thing or for them or not. In very simple terms, say, I want to build a feature. Let's take an example for everything. Say Ola Uber. Let's take an example of Ola itself. Ola now wants to launch a new feature and says this, say Ola credit. That means you can use Ola using your credit, which is available to you. And this is the unique value proposition they are going to offer to the end user. Hence, they think they will be able to capture the market. But do you think the particular customer we are talking about values this equally? The answer to that is no. It is a good value to have, but it's not a unique value proposition which the customer will value. For here, Ola, for the Ola users, they just require a convenience that they should be able to book the ride and the ride should come to them, drop them safely. That's the whole requirement. Again, this unique value proposition going to be differentiator also for you. Ola versus Uber, how it differentiates each other. Then we talk about the customer segments. So taking the same example forward, Ola Uber, for Ola, if a person who is going every day to his particular office via his bike is not the right target audience, he or she may use a cab or a Ola bike some days, but that's not the target customer for them. The target customer for them is the person who prefers Ola, Uber, or any other ride hailing platforms versus his or her own vehicle. And the best customer is who do not even own their vehicles. Those are the target customers for them. Everyone needs to define these particular customers. So defining the customer is in terms of very easy when you read the whole of the textbook kind of experience. It just says divide them demographically. Demographically is a tier 1, tier 2, then divide them. So age group, say 15 to 30, 15 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40. The problem comes is how you define your customer segment. These all things are good once you are at a very, very immature level. Once you are at a startup level, you need to define to the customer seeking what is the value they seek, how the customer looks like, what exactly is the customer benefit for you, why customer is coming to you, what the customer do every day. This whole thing should be known to you. Like for me, say if I want, let's talk about a startup who is going to focus on, say, elderly care. So for them, elderly care can further be divided into 55 to 60, 60 to 70, 70 to 80, 80 plus. Very simple. If you just group them age. Now multiply it. Who is going to pay for them? Are they going to pay themselves, or say this children or some relative are going to pay? Put another filter to that. What these people do daily. Are they very, very conscious about their health? Two, already they have everything managed. They have a driver sitting outside. They have their own family doctor, everything. Or are they seeking someone's help to do it? Can they order basic thing themselves or no? All these things have to be answered before you define your customer segment. Now, it's very easy to define your customer segment and the customer persona, but you need to understand few things. One is, are you going to solve the particular pain point for that particular customer, or it is just you can say a symptom, not the exactly pain point for them? And is this particular market potential enough for you to get into a startup, start your startup and solve this particular market? Next is a distribution channel. So distribution channel is very simple today. The easiest distribution channel is go digital. Spend money on Facebook or Google, acquire the customers. The traditional way is building the whole of the traditional channel. Traditional channel looks something like a major distributor, sub-distributor, your retailer, and the end consumer. Then you in the e-com, you have another channel which is called as a modern trade. Modern trade is something like a Big Bazaar or a Walmart, something like that. So these are the kind of channels which already existed. Now there are some new channels which have been showcased especially by the startups, which are partnerships. Why even I need my storefront? The example of that is the D2C companies. They do not create the whole channel. They are saying either I'll partner with someone or I'll go directly to the customer. Or the channels can be, there are many companies who just put up their stalls only during the exhibitions and the events. So those are the channels they have already identified for them. Again, you need to identify whether you're finding this particular channel for what. Channel can be different for marketing, channel can be different for sales, channel can be different for customer to reach out to you. So all these channels have to be different, can be combined. But you need to define all these things for your solution before jumping into whether your solution is right or not. And again, these distribution channels, you have again less than 30 words to define in this particular thing. Next is a revenue stream. So revenue stream here means what are the possible revenues that you can earn once you have this particular startup. Again, taking example of Ola Uber, the very simple thing is they do as a transaction. So around 25% of each transaction which you do using their app goes to Ola or Uber. Else than this, they also charge you the surcharge, especially when there's a high traffic, it's a rain, that's an additional income for them. Today, they are cross-selling many other things. If you have seen, you are buying insurance of rupees 2 per ride, even on a bike, unknowingly. That's a cross-sell they are doing. And then they have a Ola credit option. So once you mistakenly do not give them the money, you'll come to know how much they earn. So these are the kind of revenue channels they have already established. And now Ola, if you talk about in Bangalore, Delhi and many areas have started Ola Food as well, backing on the ONDC. So this is another revenue stream they have got. So you need to understand what are the revenue streams today you will have, and going forward, what are the possible revenue streams you will have. This is a very big difference, and you need to put on the timeline how your revenue streams are going to change, whether they are growing, whether they are decreasing, whatever is happening has to be put somewhere. Next is a cost structure. So how we look at a cost is in terms of a fixed cost and a variable cost. Fixed cost is something, even if you have a zero revenue, you are not selling anything, this is a fixed cost you have to pay. It can be as simple as a rent or a salary to someone, something like that. Variable cost is once you're going to produce something and sell. So if you have produced, say, one quantity of something, you will require the raw material of that. And going forward, you are producing 1,000 quantities, the raw material will also get multiplied. That's a variable cost. As in this is how the traditional way was looking. What now we have started looking into is what are the operational expenses else in this. Operational expense is something like, if I do my daily operations, what are I need to do to control those? It can be your utilities, your maintenances, which are your everyday expenses. It can be as simple as, say, if you have a sales team, they are going to ride a bike, they will charge you for that particular thing. They will ask for the petrol. Employee cost is not only your employee salaries, there are benefits, there's a training, the whole thing comes out to be CTC, but the cost to actually company is way more than CTC, which we imagine. Then is the investments. Investment can be two-side thing. One is the investment into the technology or the equipment which the company has done, simple laptops or something like that. Or investment also means what is the cost of investment in terms of I need to keep some amount into the FD so that my company survives if there's any of the issue. Normally, it is recommended to keep around 20 to 40% of your investment into FDs or some fixed asset, which is safe asset. The unfair advantage is one particular point which will be validated by max of the VCs, venture capitalists, or if you go to the angels, when you talk to them that you are building something. Why an unfair advantage will be talked about the most there? Because the business plans or the domain which you are trying to do, there's nothing new under the sun. Our approach will be different, our way will be different, but how the particular team has this particular differentiator which can be enabled, or once you are creating something, can this be an unfair advantage? Let's talk about the team. Suppose you are going to work on the solar panel equipments and you are going to sell that. If both of your team members, one team member is the best particular person in India who has his renowned name research papers on the solar panels, and the other one is known as the best salesperson across the world on the solar team, and both have combined now to do the startup. This is the best possible team for the expertise and on their particular technology. Or you have found out a method to sell that. Method to sell that is as simple as, suppose I have tied up with, say, all the NBFCs and banks in the world. So every bench you go, you will be able to see that. Or I have a first mover advantage. No one has done that. And this, yeah, and this is a requirement for the whole of the country which you have unfortunate. Next is what are the differentiators and are you going to create an entry to barrier to entry for this particular thing once you are doing this. So all these things combine as an unfair advantage. Unless and until a team has an unfair advantage, VCs will not likely jump into this. The reason for that is for them, any of the VC at the early stage startup totally puts the bet on three things. First is a team, second is the market, and the third one is a trajectory of that team. Trajectory means how fast that particular team can go, how well they gel. So all these things have to be covered up here. Next is key matrices. What are the matrices which you are going to measure? As a lean startup, you need to ensure that you keep very few matrices and your primary or what you call as a North Star matrix has always be one. It can be say number of users who are transacting. If you talk about Flipkart, it can be number of users who are transacting, number of users who are coming to the website. It can be the whole of the GMV. It can be the bottom line. But every company needs to choose one metrics they are going to keep as a top metrics, and all the decisions in the particular company, whether it's a small decision or the strategy decision, have to be aligned towards that particular thing, and that is known as a North Star metrics. Else than this, obviously, you will need to keep the matrices which you will be, as a founder or as a key person on that particular company, you will be validating at a periodic basis. Can be daily, fortnightly, weekly, or something. These common matrices which we see are your performance indicators. Say for the e-com, it will be how many new users are required, what's the conversion rate which is happening, what is the time everyone is spending on the particular platform, what's the kind of user retention, how many times they're coming back. And when you put numbers to that, it's the CAC, customer acquisition cost, then CRC, customer retention cost. What's the retention I have? What's the cost I have to pay to get the customer back? What's the lifetime value of that particular customer if I continue that particular customer across? And basic conversion ratios, which I need to ensure that my company needs healthy. Why these particular matrices are important, and even your VCs and everyone will be looking towards these matrices, and in any of your board meeting you are required to present these matrices, because these matrices give a early signs. If someone reads rightly, they will be able to know what is there a company in distress, or do you see that you have acquired a lot of users but are not able to transact. Just a classic example for this is say Flipkart has more than 45 crore users, and their user who transact even once in a whole year is around 9 to 12 crore, and who transacts every month is around mere 1 crore. So these matrices they have to keep and measure accordingly. If someone says I am working on retention, that means these numbers have to increase. Which number? 1 to 1.5 crore to 9, the gap has to reduce. And the number from 9 crore to 45 crore, the gap has to reduce. Coming to the next, let's look at the live example. How many of you know about Dropbox? Any of the participants who know about Dropbox? What does Dropbox do? Feel free to unmute and speak.
Avinash, Karaj, Disha, Gursimran. So you can continue.
Sure. So coming to Dropbox, so Dropbox is a platform which we normally use to share our files with our colleagues. So what they started was the problem statement which they identified. It was very simple that the file sharing within a team or say within the college students was very, very difficult. What the people will start doing is they'll keep versioning version 0.1, 2, 3. Suppose I have a file which was shared to say me and Ishika, and the file version was 0.5. we both made a change and made it 0.6. Now there are two files with a version 0.6. So these were the basic problems which they were facing, and all these files were getting stored again and again in the physical storage formats. The solution they found was that why not we can store all this and get it in the cloud and get it synchronous between all the users. The very value proposition which they got was it is your file, you can use it anywhere at any point of time. The advantage they had was a first mover advantage. How they got this particular advantage? They talked to all the users who were the potential users, who were, say, the business individuals or college students who were trying to get the convenient file sharing method. The metrics which they adopted at that point of time was what are the user sign up, was the engagement rate and the conversion rate. For them, the key metrics was user sign up. The high level concept they kept was the file sharing and the collaboration, how they can do this together. The channel which they took was the online marketing and the referral programs. So for them, the major cost was obviously the tech cost, specifically the server infrastructure, because they were not charging anything from the customers at the start of the time. So the major cost for them was the tech cost, especially the storage cost. At that point of time, AWS and all the costs were not as cheap as we have today. And the model was free at the initial level for them. When I talk about Ola, which we were just trying to discuss, so what Ola is solving is there is a gap between the Ola drivers, the Ola rides which are available versus the customers who need that particular ride. So the drivers, they need to earn money, they need that particular ride, they need the customers, and they are sitting idle somewhere. The customers are trying to search for the ride or the cab, and they are not getting it. They want to solve this particular as a problem. And that also they niche down that we want to solve only in the urban areas, because the customer is okay to pay and the driver is mature enough to handle this technically. So this is the reason the whole thing started. And the solution which they got was a very simple mobile app, which will connect the local drivers and the rides which require the customers. That's it. The unique value proposition they had was that everything should be on the fingertip for each of these person. The unfair advantage, they moved early into the market and they learned a lot from Uber, which was existing in many other places. Grab was there in Singapore, but Indian market was still untapped comparatively. The customer segment for them, the end user, was very simple. The customer who is seeking convenience and is okay not to negotiate. Because at that point of time, customers were bound to negotiate with the cab riders, cab hailers. The key metrics which they started monitoring on day zero was the daily number of ride bookings they were doing, not on the new signups. That was the North Star metrics for them. For them, the cost structure majorly was the driver partnership, because once you even onboard them, to maintain the relationship was a cost to them. Hence, initially in the initial months, the driver used to make somewhere around 80,000 to 1.5 lakh in the month. Now it has reduced to somewhere around 20 to 30,000. The app development and the customer support, they ensured that the customer convenience was the top priority for them. When you talk about revenue, which we discussed earlier, it's majorly the 15 to 25% share which they get of the transaction, the search pricing which they do, and the additional things which they sell, cross-sell and upsell, which are your insurances, credit, and everything. On the similar lines, if we talk about Flipkart, so anyone would like to take a hit on Flipkart? What are the problems which Flipkart is solving? Okay, let's continue. So Flipkart, the problem statement they had was that people have limited access to the wide range available of the products. So products are available across India in millions of numbers, but each person in the physical world had only 100 to 1000 thousands of the products available to them. So their idea was to play on the selection range. Let me give you a brief about e-commerce. E-commerce has three total pillars. The first pillar is price. Can we reduce the price, get the best possible price to the customer? Second pillar is convenience. Customer need not to even step out. The third is selection. Selections mean how wide the selection is. So Flipkart started playing on the selection part of it. The solution they had was, we will develop an e-commerce platform which the customers can come. On the other side, you will have the sellers who will list on that particular thing. Unique value proposition was, you can shop from your comfort zone, which is your home, and just using your fingertips, nothing else. Unfair advantage these guys had was, they were early to the Indian e-commerce market, and both the people who were starting this, both the Bansals were ex-Amazon. So they already knew what Amazon was doing fairly well. The customer segment they wanted to target was the online shoppers across various demographics. Because they were e-commerce, they did not have a restriction for your tier 1 or something like that. The cost structure for them was majorly maintaining that particular website, because it's a marketplace now. It's a heavy website, then you have to maintain the logistics. Unless and until the whole thing gets delivered to the customer, it doesn't make sense for the customer. And obviously, marketing to get the particular customer. Revenue stream for them majorly were transactional. In terms of, once the product gets sold in grocery, they earn somewhere around, say, 5 to 15%. In fashion, they earn somewhere around 30 to 70% of the margin, and commissions whenever they are promoting something. Coming to the effective use, if you talk about the effective use, how we can use this effectively, there are total 12 things we need to figure out. First is, we have to be very, very clear on the problem statement. Unless and until one person is clear about the problem statement, there's no point whether you are starting up your own startup, whether you're using lean canvas, whether you're going to a VC or not. They will identify this at a very start. And iterate quickly. That's what a startup is. Pivot as soon as you know something. Then is a focus on the customer validation. We already have some things in the mind. We are always have a baggage, what we have learned, and that has to be quickly unlearned. How that happens is, talk to the customers, show them, and keep everything simple. No one likes the jargons. And collaboration means here that you need to collaborate with whomever is there. Do not think someone is a competition to you. Do not think they will copy from you, because you are just starting up. And the main thing, the main differentiator in a startup is the execution part of it. There is, again, what I said, there's no new idea under the sun. Then test the hypothesis actively. Again, that is the customer validation which you need to do. Use visuals, because customer, if you tell them a story, you're going to change the world for them, it's good. Unless and until they see something in their hand, they'll not be able to understand that. Get the feedbacks as soon as possible. And the most important thing in the whole startup journey is, get a mentor and take the regular feedbacks. Because startup journey is not a very collaborative journey in the whole sense. You will be alone many of the times. And once you are alone, even the 2 or 3 co-founders, your minds will get attracted towards one trajectory. You will go blindly towards that. So it's very, very important to have the right mentors. And mentors, you need to change the mentors as well as soon as you grow. Because once you're starting up at a startup level, from zero, -1 to 0, there's a different kind of a mentor you require. Once you are at already, say, 10,000 transactions per hour, you need a different kind of a mentor there. And the most important thing which we all miss is, document everything, whatever you do. Whether you take assumption, whether you do some projections, or whether you align towards a goal, the whole of the co-founders, you need to ensure that this whole thing is documented somewhere. I'm open to questions if you have any questions.
Kairaj, Avinash, if you have any questions, you can ask.
No, sir, you may continue, please.
That's it, guys. Thank you for having me, and happy Diwali, everyone. I think आज छोटी दिवाली, so please focus on that. घर पे पूजा होगी सबके. And कल के लिए पटाखे, I think मैंने बैन कर दिए, but मिल तो जाएंगे. So please have a safe Diwali and happy Diwali once again. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, sir, for the
Happy
great
Diwali,
session.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and you too.